fledgling world of Dominia Prime, man, woman, and beast are taking their first upright steps among the humanoid races and making their mark upon history. Tomes and scrolls bear their names, and cemeteries and graves hold their remains. But these are not just stories, not just accounts of history. These are legends. And this is the Boardcast.
Welcome back. We're on episode 2.
Damn, that was cool.
Yeah,
every time.
yeah.
I'm impressed every time.
Oh, thanks, man. I like doing monologues.
It was, once again, early 2000s movie trailer intro voice, which I'm a big fan of.
That's exactly. I always try and like match the tone, right? You know, it's like I had like race car announcer for Aether Drift, you know, like the captain's log for, you know, that kind of stuff.
Coming to a cinema near you.
You have way better control over your voice as well. Like I can't really. I'm pretty monotone, so I like when I sing along to stuff. It's like pretty bad. Like
Yeah, I got no control over my notes. You know what I mean?
young Wade, who's been on the podcast, has been working on the truck with me, and I said to him, I was like, today's gonna be pretty easy. Like, you know, I haven't loaded up with hard work at the start. I don't want to scare him off too quickly. But I'd say to him, I was like, the worst part's definitely going to be having to listen to me sing, because I do it without really intentionally thinking about it, and I'm not going to necessarily be able to turn it off. I will try for him, and at the end of the day, he verified that was an idea.
He just needs to fit. Like, obviously, he's sitting in the passenger seat, right? So he can just wear an earplug in one.
Oh,
ear.
in one? That's
He's
actually a
just
great
in one
idea.
ear,
Ooh,
right?
it mutes it.
Yeah. He just mutes your side.
I got a bad experience with singing in karaoke, and it's really put me off.
Sure.
I took a girl out for a karaoke night once,
That's that's dating on hard
well,
mode, brother.
no, actually, the karaoke wasn't the primary part. It was we had a few drinks, and then as in my like inebriation, I suggested, "Hey, let's go karaoke."
I mean, hey, this could go
Sounds
well,
like a fun
right?
moment.
There's a 50-50 chance. That
And I
it's
don't
either
remember
great or
too much
terrible.
from that night, but I presume I sang really badly because I remember distinctly. I was singing. I rapped Jay-Z's part in Empire State of
Or
Mind.
did you take it too serious? That's why.
Well, I was also very drunk, and
Yeah.
then she ghosted me afterwards.
It could have been a poor song choice.
After
You
the
never know.
date or during the singing?
you drop the mic at the end of the
Yeah,
song.
yeah.
You go and sit back to an empty couch.
Yeah, gone.
There's just no one there.
And it's just like a Roadrunner thing where I just see a plume of smoke as he runs off.
You're like, that was pretty good, right, babe?
Okay, that's
Babe?
unideal, my guy.
Oh no, that sucks. I obviously, you guys know I kind of like the sound of my own voice. I've kind of worked on it over the years. I've always wanted to be a voice actor. I just don't know how the fuck to actually get into
get there?
acting. Like,
Yeah.
I
Stick with us, baby. You'll be famous
It's
soon.
Hey, you know, like fingers crossed, right? You know,
it's
that would be-
notoriously hard without connections. I've heard.
Yeah, and
without people you know.
I don't know if I'm just like prepared for the mental mindset of like living on like gig stuff.
Yeah,
doing auditions and auditions and auditions, and then maybe hearing back and all that kind of stuff.
I've listened to literally hundreds, and I mean, because I'm on the truck a lot, so I'm listening to audiobooks a lot. I've listened to a good percentage that you would be better at reading than the person I'm listening to. I can tell you.
I would be so fucking down to reading audiobook stuff. But yeah, no, like the reason I have the voice is that I used to watch a lot of Dragon Ball Z and every other anime and cartoon I could get my hands on, and then during the ad breaks, I would copy the voices.
Ooh, damn, that's smart ass.
That's all I
That
would
would be
do.
plenty of practice.
It's like part like echolalia, like ADHD stuff, where you just keep saying like,
What's your like? What's your
vocal
number one like go to? What can you do the best? Who can you mimic?
what
the
can
best?
what can I mimic the best?
Yeah.
You're putting me on the spot here for an impression. I always really enjoyed doing Vegeta. And I'm not going to do it now because I'm.
You're gonna have it in your mind, right?
We'll save it for an
Have,
out.
you,
Yeah,
have you
yeah.
got any that you can do?
No,
Dan?
I mean, so,
Yeah, I
okay.
can impersonate Danny really well.
Yeah. So okay,
just disappointed crying.
I do enjoy doing Optimus Prime, like Generation
Oh.
1 Optimus Prime.
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
the
yeah.
you know.
What was the Optimus Prime's voice actor's name? Something Cullen.
Coincidentally,
Peter
there's
Cullen.
a
Peter Cullen.
Optimus
Yeah.
Prime Secret Lair coming out in 5 minutes. So
I
you'll
mean,
be on.
there already
Optimus
is one. Right?
Prime's voice is the epitome of the cool guy voice.
Yeah,
You know what
and I love voice actors, and
It
I love
sounds like
watching.
a leader.
There's like an interview he did where he was talking about going into the like audition for it, and he randomly got a call from his brother who was in the military, and he was like telling his brother about the thing, and his brother got like really quiet and was like, "So you would be a military leader on a show for kids? I want to hear a military leader that is strong but soft." Like his brother was
Sound like for confidence.
yeah, he's like, I want you to be like a fatherly figure that is actually like gentle, you know, like, And then that's what he brought into in the audition, and you get the "I am Optimus Prime."
Damn,
That
like
was
the-
good.
yeah.
That was close. Very good.
Leader.
You know
of
what
the
I could do?
Autobots.
The only voice I can properly do. It's John Howard, the 1990s Australian Prime Minister, and that's all I got. That's all I got of me. And
Yeah, which line?
there was one. Do you remember the Chasers? Do you remember the show The Chasers?
Oh, I remember the Chasers. Yeah,
It was
absolutely.
just like a political parody, and they did a lot of crazy stuff. They're most famous for one where they there was like a Geneva summit in and they dressed up as terrorists and they tried to get in dressed as terrorists.
Oh,
And
yeah.
Another one where the West Coast Eagles were going through, a lot of their players were having drug problems, so they dressed up as the West Coke Eagle, and they went to a meeting of the bus, and the what do you call it, the Eagle mascot had like a baggie and was like snorting
Nice,
lines on the
nice.
floor.
Yep.
Really well known for that stuff. Really, really smart comedy.
This is some really 2010s humor.
Yeah, some real base level 2010s. And they did this thing, John Howard, which was our prime minister from 1990 for I think 2 sections after.
You would need to remind people in our audience about John Howard. Some of them might not have been alive when he was prime minister.
He had, damn.
Or not even from Australia.
And
of course.
he had this thing that he would do. There was it's called Piccadilly House, right, where they live. Is that right?
Oh, I want to say, yeah, that's
Something
like
like
that's
that.
the prime minister's
where they
house,
live in
right?
the ACT, they live in like a house, kind of like, in America, like they have a good one, like the White House and shit, where they live.
yeah.
In
This
Australia,
is
we
the
have
closest we got.
Yeah.
Or like Downing Street.
Yeah.
And
Just a little close to Downing Street, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, he would do this thing where he would leave the house in a matching jumpsuit every day and go for a really fast arm
remember.
swinging
Yeah,
walk.
I remember the
Yeah.
aggressive.
Power walk.
Yeah.
So the chasers would all get in matching suits and then follow him along. And
Can you imagine, right? Let's say in America, if you're the president, you would have an entourage of bodyguards.
crazy, right?
Yeah, this FBI at all times covering you. And in Australia, you just have the prime minister go out for a jog.
the
among
old man just
citizens.
walks down the street next
Yeah,
to him.
you can just jog up to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he would make jokes to the guys talking. He would talk back to them while they're walking along, and all of my impressions were just of John Howard saying things back to them. And but yeah, that's it. That's all I got. It's like,
I used to DM a lot for Dungeons and Dragons, and in Dungeons and Dragons, if you're DM, your players kind of expect you to put on a voice.
Yeah,
and I
voices
naturally have a
are,
little bit of a lower voice, and I was really good at doing the villains, the low growling voices. And every single time I had to play the role of like a hero character or a jolly character. Terrible. Can't do it at all.
is that because you have no base level joy inside you, Kane?
Absolutely. If I have to play the wizard on the tower that's all evil and summoning skeletons,
yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
But any moment I have to play bartender 3 in an inn, not chance.
Well, see, that's the thing though, is you got to have that you got to have the big gap between like I'm the Dark Lord kind of stuff
Yeah.
up here, but then you also need to have gimmicky side like little Gollum character.
Yeah,
Where you're like,
yeah.
how the girls?
I also have a
But the middle part is the hard one.
Correct.
Like regular people voices, where you're like, hello.
Or especially trying to make a regular person sound interesting for a
yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons
and
campaign.
then it's not just your voice.
Correct. And also I'm on the spot, I am bad at coming up with names. If you give me enough time, I'll come up with interesting names.
Kinda
On
like-
the spot.
kinda like Squid Dog.
Yeah. That's a deep cut reference right there. On the spot, if someone asks me what's this character's name, I'll just be like Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ancient wizard Bobby.
Genuine help for any other DMs out there, as I've experienced this as now a father of a 5-year-old. Read kids books. Read kids books and do a different voice for each of the characters. And it just gives you such a good way of like flipping back and forth between
Oh,
things.
yes, 'cause of, like,
I
the
do
little
that
characters,
all
yeah.
the time. And that was the hardest problem I had when I was DM and was doing voices and then remembering what characters have
Who
what
had what?
voices.
Yeah.
Do it with a 5-year-old. They'll keep you right.
They're paying attention. They
You
want to
get
know more.
unfiltered marks, right? Like they're like,
Yes.
Lucas has said to me some choice things over the years. I know he's a child, and I'm like, oh, that's okay. And I walk out of the room, and I'm like, ooh, hurts.
I mean, look, famously, The Lord of the Rings was even written as an entire book series or specifically The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Because Tolkien would recount those stories to his son, and he would change information as he sometimes forgot it, and his son would be like, fuck you. There are 14 dwarves.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
said there were 12. You forgot about Biffer and Bomber. And so then he started writing stuff down, and then like after a year, he just has an entire
That's
book.
how it
There
turns
you
into
go.
a book. Love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
All right, welcome back to-
Should we actually talk about magic
Yes,
cards?
we should jump onto this one here.
I'm good. We'll just keep talking
The
shit.
banter, right? we always pad out these episodes with about 10 or 15 minutes of extra
Yeah.
content dialogue, which I wonder if people clicking on thinking this is a lore This is a lore podcast,
Yes.
right? And then just click off.
No, I'm convinced everyone's here for the yap, all right? The lore is great, but the yap between us is as good.
Very fair. But we're on episode 2 now. A quick summary as well, Matt. We had last episode,
Yes.
we talked about what we would say is chronologically the beginning of the Magic storyline.
Yes, so this is episode 2 in sort of a long-running series that we're going to be doing of going down through Magic sets chronologically from when they first came out and basically talking about what their actual story is. More modern sets, it's pretty easy to identify, like, okay, what is the official story for this? But in these earlier sets, it's sometimes a lot harder, it's a lot more disjointed. And I'm going to save you the effort of spending multiple hours on MTGpedia, like half reading articles and being like, well, what the fuck is that? By doing it here. For most Danny and Kang.
For most people, this early lore is the part where most people have the questions.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I had questions about this. I have made Magic lore my like hyper-focused special interest for the better part of 10 years now, and Legends was still kind of like a blank spot for me. I knew good chunks of it. I did not know a good deal of it. So I've spent the time since last episode where we talked about the Brothers' War, and now just cramming.
So last episode, we talked about, like, the story was the Brothers' War, but the
Yes.
set was Antiquities. And
Yep.
that's 1993, I believe. Mm-hmm. And now we're moving on to 1 year after, 1994, into Legends. Am I correct here, I presume?
Yeah. Antiquities was 1994 in March.
Okay, never mind.
And this is a
you
couple
go.
months later in June of 1994.
Perfect. So only moving forward in the timeline a couple months onto
Yeah.
Legends, which is
So people complain about the release schedule of Magic, but it was a shit show from the beginning.
always plenty of things coming out.
I mean, yeah. Like there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 4 major sets that came out in 1994: March, June, August, November, and then that also doesn't even factor into the fact that they had like ancillary products. Later years became a lot more cramped.
Gotcha.
But there's a fun reason why this set came out so quickly and why the release schedule seems all squished up. But we'll get into that. Yeah, we talked about Antiquities. We talked about the Brothers' War, which is both chronologically in Magic set order and in timeline order, basically the start of lore.
Yeah.
Alpha and Beta don't really have a lot of lore. They have stuff that gets referenced to later on. Arabian Nights is Arabian Nights. I did want to offer a minor revision for what I talked about in last episode. Arabian Nights does canonically take place in the Magic multiverse, right? So there is a plane called Rabia.
Nice, fun.
It's definitely not Arabia. It's Rabia, which the 1001 Arabian Nights take place on. It's got some weird, like, canonical stuff about the fact that it is actually 1001 planes infinitely reflected across each other. But we can never go back to Rabia.
Yep.
Rabia is completely sealed off.
Because I know there are loose references to planeswalkers that come from Rabia.
Yeah, there's one particular planeswalker that becomes very important in the comics.
Yep.
But those comics are what we refer to as pre-revisionist canon, where stuff in Magic has happened since then that has caused things to be revised or just straight up retconned. So these stories, they kind of take place in like a weird nebulous space where some parts of them are canon, like the characters might be, but the events might not be.
So is the reason that we can't go back to Rabia still a real reason, or we just pretend like it doesn't exist now?
It is still a real reason. The plane of Rabia was sealed off. Like it's just sealed off in a magical way from the rest of the multiverse. You just can't get there.
And if we were ever to see a Rabia set in magical physical form, it would probably need a lot of design revisions to make it actually feel magic-y. Because rather, Arabian Nights is very much a set of, these are real references to realistic things in Arabian culture, and also references to Arabian myth, and that doesn't really reflect magic super well. Like, think about, for example, in Theros. Theros is very much based on Greek mythology, but it's his own magic interpretation of Greek mythology. If we went back to Rabia, would have to have a lot of changes.
Yeah, I mean, you actually just have like Aladdin. You actually have like the Old Man of the Sea and that kind of stuff. Rabia has some fun stuff to look into. I can probably talk about Rabia when we maybe go into an episode talking about non-canonical things. But for now, we're skipping right over it. And the set that follows after Antiquities is Legends, which is what we're going to be talking about today.
Real quickly, we left off. We had the Brothers War finished with Urza and Mishra had a battle.
Yes.
Devastated Dominia Prime, and that was an Ice Age. But we're not necessarily talking about the next story chronologically. We're not moving on to Ice Age. We're going to quickly talk about Legends.
That's right.
In this episode.
In that episode, I did say that the Legend stories were going to be taking place after the cataclysmic explosion of the Golgothian Silex. And if you don't know any of these words, go back and listen to our last episode. But Legends is a weird set because it has 55 individual legendary characters in one set, which is the largest number of legendary creatures that has ever been printed in a mainline set in Magic, just period. Even Champions of Kamigawa block, which has every single rare that happens to be a creature is a legendary. This set still has more.
Still beats them out.
They're all kind of like little stories. They're little like minuets, not minuets.
And Matt's going to talk about every 51 of them right now.
No. So, for the sake of the listening audience and for Danny and Kang, I will be condensing a lot of this. I will majorly be talking about the 4 big storylines that take place over this set. And thankfully, a lot of these characters don't have a lot going on, so they just kind of get thrown in there.
Nice.
Stang. Not a lot to talk about. Stang.
It's like from your favorite child cartoon where a new enemy has to pop up each week. And it's like, this is an evil guy with a huge backstory. But you don't need that because he's about to get murdered.
Yeah, a little bit. So the origin of this set, if I can get into it, is really, really, really interesting, right? So before Magic ever comes out, an alpha is still being created. Richard Garfield, Dr. Garfield, PhD, is working with a bunch of his friends.
Maths PhD?
Yeah. He's a maths PhD. Of course, the Magic card that references him is Dr. Richard Garfield, MD. PhD?
Right.
You'll find
I'll pull up the image.
You'll put it in the thing. I'm like, I know that. No, I don't know that. Because my brain is on Legends right now. Richard Garfield himself is a legend, but he's not in the set Legends.
As hard as we're trying to destroy that.
Okay, so he's working on the game with his friends. He has a lot of friends that are playtesting it. He works at a university, so a lot of the people working on it are other university professors. 2 of those people are Steve Conrad and Robin Herbert, who are visiting the University of Pennsylvania where he's testing the game, and then they go back to their home university in Vancouver. And they get Richard on the phone, and they go, hey, that game looked pretty sick. Can we make it? Like, can we make our own set? And I know you're looking to have more stuff in the pipeline because it turns out that this alpha thing like sold like hotcakes, and you've got beta on the line, and that's selling like hotcakes. Can we make stuff? And that's exactly what this set is, right? A lot of these early sets in Magic either have the entire design process like that or are started at that point where it's just people around the realm of Magic that are like, here's a cool idea, let's make a set. So the idea for Legends was the game can capture like really big, powerful dragons and demons and characters and wars. Let's make a thing specifically about that.
So this was more of a themed set. This was the idea was that we want to make it around an idea of a feel.
Yeah,
right? And
absolutely.
that feel was very much a high fantasy-esque style of go nuts, go wild.
Yeah, pretty much. And that would be a lot of world building to do, right? To just make an entire set of like cool and interesting legendary characters. So what Steve and Robin did was they opened up their old notebooks of 20 plus years of role-playing games that they'd played together, right? Various D&D campaigns and other role-playing systems. And then they started pulling records of player characters, non-player characters, settings, and kind of filing the serial numbers off and putting them into Magic.
A little bit of rebuild. It's so funny. You talk about before how often I'll joke about something and then it turns out to be true. It's like my entire thought of this whole, when you scroll through like Mythic Spoiler and look at all the characters, it feels to me like a whole like D&D world's worth of characters. Like, some of them NPCs, some of them are mainline characters, some of the the big villain you've got to go fight. And that's exactly the feel that I got from it. So when you said that, it's like a little part of my brain like connects a bridge and you're like, oh, that makes so much sense. It's the exact feel I got through scrolling through these sheets.
Absolutely. That is exactly what this is.
You know how their Magic recently did that D&D set with those old border, those like classic
Dungeons and Dragons style.
Yeah, the Journal Night ones. These feel very similar. Like scrolling through all those images, especially clumped together, it feels like a journal's worth of characters.
This Legends for me is a set of players who just enjoy the theme of Magic, wanting to realize their imagination, right? Every single one of these characters is someone's imagination that they manifested into a Magic card. And what's really cool, I imagine, for them as well back then was seeing these characters given artwork, given lore, and manifested into reality. Because when I look at these Legends, and I look at, for example, a Gwendolyn de Courcy, I'm like, hey, there is definitely more story here, just in the evocation of the art and what's going on in the card name.
Yeah.
When I look at Hazazon Tamar, this is a character from some realm. I'm not sure what that realm is, but it's from some storyline.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's really where the focus of designing this set was on hitting the flavor and the coolness factor. Because yes, in 2025, looking at a lot of these designs, they are either accidentally incredibly busted, or you're like, why would you put this on a Magic card? Right? Like it's like the art, the name, the flavor text, incredible, but it's a 7-mana 6/4.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
Were they also responsible for designing the cards themselves?
Yes.
Right.
Yes. So this
was
why
why there was such a nightmare of card balancing.
This was a 2-person design and development team, which was then also orchestrated over the phone in 1994 between Pennsylvania and Vancouver.
Lovely.
So,
I don't know if anybody in 1994 else was trying to use the internet or the phone, but between me trying to play Age of Empires and my mum needing to call every single neighbor that we possibly have, you can only do one at a time.
Yep. Imagine trying to send like design documents or explain what you wanted the formatting for a rules text to be like when they hadn't even figured out language for that stuff yet, right?
This set feels large. This was 310 cards in the set. Was this larger than most sets back then?
Oh yeah, this was a huge set, right? I mean, like Antiquities was half this size.
Yep.
And Antiquities was focusing on an entire card type in artifacts, really. Legends goes for a much wider smattering of things, but I mentioned this to Danny just at the start of the show because I wanted to talk about it so much. This set has so many firsts for Magic, right? And we're going to be getting into the lore, so I just want to rattle off the firsts that this set does really quick. 1, this is the very first set to introduce the legend card type. Obviously, that's kind of in the name, right? Making legendary cards a thing. They introduced legendary creatures and legendary lands in this set. So that already, huge impact on Magic in 2025.
The butterfly effect for now we have Commander, which is based around legendary creatures.
It's funny because in 2025 it has more effect than it ever did before because Commander being the most popular way to play and the legend effect becoming the most integral part of that whole setup, I guess. Whereas when it was first designed, it was never intended for Commander, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, and it's like that butterfly effect where a small decision 20 years down the line makes drastic changes to how Magic is fundamentally designed and perceived.
It's funny as well, like playing so much Commander, I think of legendaries like it's the most important thing for that. And the other day we're drafting the new Spider-Man set and I had to play 2 creatures and I totally forgot for a second. I went to play a creature and it was literally a dinosaur Spider-Man. And I went to go play a second one and I was like, oh, I can't do this. And the
legend rule.
The legend rule comes up so infrequently now and has been kind of solved in Commander with like making copies of things without being legended that it's very rare that in regular games it comes up where I'm like, oh, I can't actually play a second one of these.
It's actually partially why I think they made the web slinging rule, the web slinging mechanic.
Oh, right. So you can change one in to change one out.
And rather than sacrificing a legendary creature, you just replace by returning it back to your hand.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I can see that. So, legendary introduced for the very first time as a card type. All of the legendary creatures in this set have the type line legend, which was actually a creature type at the time.
Yeah, summon legend. Yeah.
Yeah, now it's a super type, right? This set introduced world enchantments. It's okay if you don't know what a world enchantment is. They stopped doing them a couple years after this. Although they are still a thing within the rules of Magic. World enchantments are still rules legal. We did actually get a couple of reprints of world enchantments with the world enchantment type in the last couple of years. We got a Concordant Crossroads in one of the Commander products, and we got Arborea in Dominaria Remastered. So for anyone who hasn't played with a world enchantment, I think of it basically as like an aura that goes on the battlefield that is legendary.
Yeah.
So if there's a world enchantment in play and someone else plays a world enchantment, the old one goes away, the new one sticks around.
The good news is a lot of these cards have very good... because the wording back then for rulings were bad. A lot of these cards, you're highly recommended to go check the Gatherer.
Yeah, the Gatherer.
The updated rules text to see how they're strictly worded in modern day terms now.
Yeah, playing Legends as written on the cards with no errata would be a bit of a tough time.
Yeah.
A tough time.
And then also, worth noting as well that almost every card from Legends is reserve list. So a lot of these cards are very collectible.
Yes,
Ooh,
absolutely.
I did not know that.
Yeah, this set was the very first set to ever feature multicolored cards. Period.
In the form of the legendary
The
cards.
very first multicolored set. Yeah.
I did not know that.
Every single multicolored card in this set is a legend, and every legend is a multicolored card. Those go directly hand in hand. It's crazy to think that, like legendaries and multicolored cards came at the same time.
Such a monumental part of the game, all coming in.
And it was
in
the
one set,
first set to introduce the multicolored border because of that reason too.
Yeah.
So we have that gold swirly
Yeah,
border.
ugly as bold.
yeah. This was the very first set to introduce the concept of what's called a vertical cycle, and also the first set to really make use of horizontal cycles, which is those are design terms for talking about a horizontal cycle would be a cycle of effects that take place one in every color, right? So Alpha did have cycles in the boons, Lightning Bolt, Healing Salve, Ancestral Recall, Dark Ritual, Giant Growth, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like classic D&D kind of abilities, right?
Yes.
Well, these are the idea. The cycle was one mana card that did something in their color respective.
Yes.
So Lightning Bolt was 1 mana, deal 3 damage.
It's funny to think of like a Lightning Bolt and Ancestral Recall being in the same vein.
Oh, it's crazy, right? And then also Giant Growth and Healing Salve. No shit on Giant Growth. I love Giant Growth. But this set, it had cycles of glyphs. It had a cycle of...
Actually, sorry. Fun fact about Giant Growth. I believe Giant Growth is the most printed card in Magic the Gathering, as in it's appeared the most times in Magic
Really?
sets.
Yeah, I could see that. That definitely makes a lot of sense.
In the 90s advert where they do the Giant Growth advert, where the little goblin knocks on the door and then he says the guy's been complaining about him, and then he casts a giant growth on himself, and the goblin becomes a big goblin and he fights the guy. Classic 90s adverts right there.
Those 90s Magic art, adverts are fucking incredible.
Yeah.
And I wish they made that kind of stuff anymore.
If they made those versions, like those 90s versions, just like that right now, it'd be a banger. Like proper banger.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's the Visidrix card is like a science experiment of like someone who sent in their rabbit to Wizards R&D and was like, make it a magic card. And they didn't know what to do with it. So they threw it in a giant vat. And it comes out this horrific, mutated monstrosity. And they're like, slap it on a magic card.
And it has they make a big costume like the ones from like Power Rangers or something, you know what I mean? It's very, very cool.
Yeah, it's all rubber suits and lots of steam and smoke and stuff. Yeah. This was the very first set to introduce poison counters. It has 2 cards that deal with poison counters.
No, there's the snake.
Yep.
And
Pit Scorpion.
the scorpion. Yeah.
Scorpion, and it's like the snake bag. It's the bag of snakes.
Bag of snakes. Classic.
I'll find the name of it.
I'll pull an image up of it.
Yeah.
One way or another.
This was the very first set to have a 15 card booster pack. We kind of take that as that's a standard.
Yeah, that is
in Magic.
nowadays standard.
Yeah, but before this, and for a number of sets after this as well, it was also 8 card boosters, which seems incredibly small.
Yeah. When we did the Homelands one, they had the 8 card boosters. We did that with the draft here recently for Johnny Boy, and that was very strange having those 2 packs that you kind of open up at the same time.
Yep.
A lot of extra paper.
Yeah. But, I mean, Homelands is basically just like extra paper anyway. Yeah. You're like, what the fuck is this?
Yes, very true.
So, yes, actually, I saw the stack of Homeland stuff that was in there. I was wondering what that was.
Homelands, what a nonsense set.
Yeah, we did.
Great fun, but a nonsense set.
John cracked a sealed box of Homelands, and we did an 8-person draft here at the shop after
sounds
close.
so good.
It was very fun. Very, like the worst Magic card
Because
you've
the
ever
set
seen.
itself is small, everyone was able to force just hard on one creature.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like, what did someone build Thalids?
Well,
did we get
well,
people
Danny
eating from
built
the Thalid bowl?
No, Danny built everything around a card called Anaba Shaman, which is just a stupid
yeah.
goat that deals 1 damage to any target.
It's the pingy bull.
Yeah,
Correct,
I
the
just
pingy
did
bull.
heaps of those.
An Abba Shaman might be legitimately one of the best cards in the entire set.
It honestly was because Danny was wrecking everyone's shit by having like 2-3 Anaba Shamans.
And then Kane beat me at the end with my own game. he just played his shamans and pinged me.
Nerd. Yeah.
Tom, also from the podcast, he built the worst deck. He was a counter spell where you pay 2 mana and you put the spell
was it
on top
Memory
of their
Lapse?
library.
Yeah, it was Memory Lapse.
Memory
Yeah,
Lapse.
and he just had like 7 or 8 of those.
In his
So
deck.
every time you'd cast anything, he just puts it back on top of your library.
That is such a
It was
Tom deck.
Dementia Tribal.
Yeah.
It was like having Dementia over and over again.
Yep.
In
Just drawing the
theory,
same card.
it's not that good, but in a 60 or for like a draft format, you've got a 40 card deck,
Yep.
and you just never draw a new card ever again because
Yep.
he puts it back on top. Actually, very frustrating.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting wildly off topic. Here. So back to Legends, back to the current timeline.
Okay, so Legends is if we looked at antiquities as like a research into an old archaeological dig site, Legends is history textbooks. Right, this is a number of history textbooks with a number of notable characters. Some of them are way more important than others. With 55, that's definitely going to happen. So the most important thing I think to probably touch on first is that there are 2 cycles of books for Legends. They are revised versions of the lore, and they are referred to as Legends Cycle 1 and Legends Cycle 2. They're each 3 books. So this one Magic the Gathering set has 6 books that touch on some of its lore.
Actual physical books that we can read, or part of the story?
Actual physical
Okay,
books,
cool.
right? So in Legend Cycle 1, the books are called Johann, Yejit, and Hazezon. There's an entire book called Hazezon.
I remember seeing that one on my research for Hazes on Tamar.
Are these like
Very
real hard
fascinating.
eBay hits to try and find?
Honestly, I haven't had a look for them. I've been reading these yo-ho-ho. But as a pirate.
So, for example, last episode, I did a lot of research into the Brothers War cycle, and then the Thran, which actually the Thran was the last book published in that cycle, but it was the prequel. The
Yes.
last book was the prequel to all the previous books.
Fun.
But it's the last book published. Anyway, so original copies of those books are actually quite difficult to find, and they're on eBay, and they kind of like you kind of gotta negotiate secondary market. But there's plenty of resources online for scans and digital copies.
Nice. At least it's not disappeared to the universe, right?
Correct.
Yes, and these books are also slightly newer than the actual set itself because, like I said, these are the revised stories. There were comic books that came out in 1994 that told the story of Legend Cycle 1 and Legend Cycle 2, but they have been largely retconned. So in 2001 and then in 2003, they redid those cycles as entire books.
Quite a time frame to come back to them.
And loosely chronologically, because we're talking about this era of Magic where there wasn't much of a strict chronological order. This is loosely chronologically after the Brothers War.
It's about half and half. Okay. I said on the last episode that this was going to be sort of following on afterwards. Some of them do. The 2 large important ones do actually take place pre-Brothers War, but they have lasting impacts that tie in.
Right. And is there a plane it's concerned with?
It's all on Dominaria.
Okay.
This entire set takes place on Dominaria. If ever you're in doubt for a set during the 90s and the early 2000s, it's on Dominaria.
Yeah.
And
they called it Dominia Prime.
Yeah. Okay. They call it Dominia Prime. Pretty much everything up until Homelands, everything up until Homelands is all Dominaria, right? And even then, Dominaria, it just sort of like it's a little skip over, and then we skip back.
Yeah. There wasn't really the idea of the multiverse. It was just the universe was this, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the multiverse existed as a concept. We just happen to have lots of our stories take place on Dominaria.
Understandable.
Because Dominaria is really fucking big. There are just endless continents all over the damn place. And Nicol Bolas can have an entire empire on the continent of Madara that we'll get to, and that's just like not even touched on in any of the stuff that did the Brothers War. That was so far across the other side of the world, right? So let's talk about Legend Cycle 1 first.
Done. Mm-hmm.
Johann, Yejit, Hazezon. This is the particular chapter of Legends that I did not know a lot about. I knew the characters because they've been on cards, but I didn't actually really know what happens. And to be honest, I kind of still don't, because I've read through this entire trilogy. It went in through my eyes. It then exited out through the back of my eyes almost as fast as I read it. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I don't have much of a lasting impact.
Would you say that it's worth? Would it be worth reading for someone?
It's definitely. It's weird.
Yeah.
It feels like 90s fantasy, but it was written in early 2000s.
Gotcha.
It is good. It's fun. It is very of its era. But I think, considering that it does technically take place in like Magic canon, it feels very different than anything.
So would you say it's possible?
It's possible.
It's not essential reading if you wanted to follow the Magic storyline.
Yeah. No, it's not essential by any means. Because the big bad of this entire cycle, and you can largely summarize this like 3-book cycle as evil warlock takes over a city. Old man gets mad, contacts ex-wife, they go get tiger people and defeat evil wizard.
Nice, love that.
Just like every D&D campaign, am I right?
Yeah,
Involves
exactly.
the ex-wife.
Yeah. It's a town that you've got to venture to, collect heroes along the way. I get it.
Yeah, you have Hazezon Tamar as the mayor of a city called Bryce, who then kind of gets ousted and then replaced by a wizard.
That's in the
called
D&D
Johann.
campaign. The DM's mate was like, "Can you name the city after me?"
Yeah. No, that's whose house they're in.
This is Bryce Town.
Yeah. They're in Bryce's basement, and so Hazezon gets ousted from the city. He makes friends with a strange tiger man that shows up, and his ex-wife, and he tries to use his sand warriors because Hazezon is a sand warrior mage. It turns out that sand warriors have one easily defeatable weakness, which is that if you throw rocks at them, they explode. That's not a joke.
Is that my one weakness is hitting in the face with a rock?
Yeah, like the arrows are being fired at them, they're being slashed with swords, nothing happens.
I get it,
but someone has like a slingshot with a pebble, and they just
Damn
Kryptonite.
In their defense, I'm not a big fan of getting hit in the face with a rock either.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
I get it.
Yeah. It is kind of weird though that when you look at it on like a sense, you're like, okay, so if someone had fire elementals, I can see like water would be their main weakness. Sand elementals, rock.
Well, sand is just tiny rocks, right? So they're getting defeated by a bigger version of them. I get it.
Yeah, okay.
There's always a bigger rock.
Yeah.
There's always a bigger rock.
Think about like Pokemon, like Geodude is like is a rock guy.
Yeah.
And then he evolves into a guy that's like bigger, I think. And and he'd get defeated by the bigger rock. It makes perfect sense.
Our Pokemon isn't like a rock type Pokemon's weakness like water
and ground.
and never mind. This is canon.
Rock
this is
and ground are
understandable.
different types in Pokemon.
Well, there you go.
Well.
See, sand and rock are different types in Magic the Gathering. It all comes around, baby.
Yeah, it was fun. It was quite fun. There's lots of adventures that go over. There are a shit ton of characters from this set that just pop up for half a chapter, maybe a chapter. They take sort of like various NPC places within the story. You're just like, oh, we need pirates. Ramirez DiPietro, he's a pirate from the thing, and his friend is Torwalkie. That's another legend from Legends. And there's an assassin that's hunting them. It's Zira Arizian, the bug lady assassin from this set. Like, if you were to read through the set, you can almost sort of play or like read through this cycle of books. You can play like a bingo, right? Where you're just like you just try and every unnamed NPC. You're like okay, which legend are they gonna be when they tell us the name?
Every time a new sentence begins, it could be another guy. Yeah,
you're like, there's an armorer. I wonder if it's gonna be. Yeah, okay, it's this guy, right? So it's fun, but it is really just kind of like it's like insert fan fiction. But I mean, it's not really fan fiction if it's like they wrote it like this. It's I don't know. It's cool. It's fun.
Every fan fiction is one publisher away from being canon.
Yep.
You know, very true. Very, very true. But where we really get into stuff is Legend Cycle 2. This is the one that I knew a lot about. Legend Cycle 2 it's a follow-on story for Nicol Bolas.
Okay. Which is a character that first appeared in Alpha, right? No.
This is where Nicol Bolas shows up.
Okay, never mind.
Nicol
For some
Bolas-
reason, I thought there was an Elder Dragon.
Thought he was already there.
No, Shivan Dragon is the only dragon that
Yeah,
appears in Alpha.
Shivan Dragon is the only one that appears in Dragon. And so Legend Cycle 2 needs a little bit of a preface because Legends, the main big cycle for this entire set are the Elder Dragons, which progenitors for not only all of the dragons in the multiverse and some of the larger stuff that happens on Dominaria, but also Commander used to be called Elder Dragon Highlander because you could only use these 5 guys. All right, that was the gimmick. So the oldest canonical thing that can happen in the Magic multiverse is there was a really big fuck-off dragon called the Dragon. If you've played Commander, you probably either winced or went, yeah, the Dragon, as I said that, right? It's one of two reactions.
Playing against the Dragon is a rite of passage for
Yes.
Commander players.
It's funny. It's an incredibly insult-inducing card, and yet they reprint it without fail in consistency now.
Well,
So,
yeah, because
you
if
see
you've
it
ever
more and
seen
more and more.
someone that like played the Dragon, they're like, this shit's amazing. And then they realize
is
that they
the
lose
coolest
friends
dragon.
very quickly.
The Dragon is the coolest dragon. What are you going to do? Not play the biggest dragon for your commander?
You see at MagicCon they announced the dragon sleeve announcement. This year, now we just see another slew of dragons coming through, and I'm like, oh,
You're like, oh, you can suit up your Dragon
I
deck
don't
in
blame
Dragon
them.
sleeves.
We've all thought about it. We've all thought about building Dragon.
oh, I don't want to yuck anyone's yum. I just can't beat it. my skills stop at dragon 10
Correct.
dragon to the face.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. And like canonically, the Dragon just sort of flaps in and then flaps out of the story. So, the Dragon is this like colossal, like plane spanning dragon that is in multiple planes at once as planes are sort of being born, and with each flap of its wings, eggs come out. I don't know how that works. We're not going to gloss on it.
It's like myth,
Yeah,
we're
it's very,
diving
very
into
mythical.
a mythical style of storytelling where it's interpretations of rather than literals.
Do you remember the Grecian myth of how like Geo it's sent across the sky and the seeds get sent everywhere?
Yeah, Uranus is.
Oh yeah, she slashes his junk across the
Yeah,
sky.
Yeah, it feels very much more like that, right?
Correct.
It's very
Yes.
similar where it's like it's passing by and its being is so ever present compared
And
to
Athena was born out of Zeus's head.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where the literal doesn't make much sense, but it's more of this idea of Athena's built out of the wisdom
they
and
are.
intelligence of Zeus.
They're legends.
Correct.
Right? Yeah. And these elder dragons, there are a good number of them that land on Dominaria. There's sort of rumors that like elder dragons would have landed on other worlds, but the main ones that actually survive are on Dominaria.
Do these books have a name?
These books that I'm going to be sort of talking about are not technically books. They were comic books, and the comic books were revised out of canon, and then the large majority of the stuff that I'm talking about these days was written in 2019, with Core Set 2019 on the way, which featured the new versions of these elder dragons.
remember the
I
flippy ones
remember.
and stuff like that?
Yeah, the flippy bolus and that kind of stuff, right? So then they rewrote and published all of this stuff. That's available on the Magic website. It's all free to read.
Yeah.
It's really hard to find specific like things to point people towards, because you just sort of say go on the Magic website and then I don't know, use their search bar.
What we'll do is we'll put Matt's phone number at the end of the podcast. You can just ring him. Ring him. He'll point you in the right
What you
direction.
do is you do one of those like pay dial ones, and so everyone pays $2 to ask you a question.
Well, I mean, I think I've suggested this exact thing before, right? You just have a phone line in the store that anyone, it can be like Ask a Nerd, and it's just like it's coin operated, and it calls me up, and I'm like, hey, what's up? And they're like, so who is Palladium Moors?
It's just going to be Tom and I playing Commander at 4 a.m, waiting for a secret lair drop, calling you at 4 a.m, having an argument with each other.
Yeah.
The Corsair 2019 thing is very the timeline lines up for me because when I started taking Magic seriously, it was from Dominaria followed by Corsair 2019.
Interesting.
So for me, introduction to Palladium Moors and Nicol Bolas was my introduction to Magic.
Yeah, nice.
So let's introduce all the listeners to the 5 Elder Dragons that are printed in this set, and the 2 also very important ones that aren't printed in this set, but they're kind of not because they're really in the story, but they didn't actually make the set.
They didn't make the card.
I'll get into it. So these eggs that have landed on Dominaria hatch, and from these eggs hatch already incredibly large dragons that know their name, they know their purpose, they have an idea of exactly who they are. They are fully formed individuals. So the firstborn is Arcades Sabbath. He is largely regarded as the wise one. He is aligned with green and white and blue magic. He is a learner, and so he looks off to the world around him and he goes, I'm going to go learn about all this stuff. The next is born is Chromium Ruel. Chromium Ruel is like a metallic dragon. He's aligned with white and blue and black magic, and he looks at the world around him and goes, all right, this shit is potentially dangerous, and transforms into a human and wanders away. The next one born is Vivictus Asmati, who has ties to black and red and green magic. And Vivictus looks at the world around him and goes, hom nom nom. And
It's dinner time, baby.
exactly. And just like rushes off with a couple of the other sort of, they're not unnamed legendary dragons, but they're not going to be notable enough to be in this set. Legendary dragons, and they go off to form like a big pack somewhere. Then Palladium Moors is born. She has ties to white and red and green magic, and she, like Vivictus Asmati, goes, that sounds fucking great. I want to like conquer some shit, right? And then we sort of pan off to the side, and there is one egg that is still hatching, and inside the egg we hear like scuffles, and it's 2 dragons that are stuck inside one egg. And so because they're twins, they're inside the same egg, they're each half the size of all of the other ones. And they are known as Nicol and Ugin, not Bolas. They're just Nicol and Ugin, and they're wrestling and they crack and then they come out of the egg. So immediately from their birth they are bickering, right? And from there on, those dragons go to sort of take over various domains over Dominaria, establish themselves as rulers, as threats, and eventually their territories start to overlap, and problems arise. And the humans have started to develop, because there are humans at this point, but they're very much like a primitive species. They figured out how to hunt dragons. Not very well, but they're trying to develop tactics. And Nicol Bolas starts taking over some of these humans that are really good at hunting dragons and employs them.
It's like living on the edge, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the irony of it.
Yeah. And so then when Nicol's brother, Vivictus Asmati, attacks him and gets repelled back by humans equipped with like dragon hunting tools.
Anti-dragon shit.
Vivictus Asmati goes, okay, no, that shit is not kosher, right? That is uncool.
Yeah, I eat you, buddy. What does that mean?
Yeah, exactly. Dragons fight
natural order
dragons.
of
You
things
don't
is wrong.
get other people to fight dragons with you, but this is the world's introduction to Nicol Bolas being kind of a dick. So it kicks off a huge war known as just the Elder Dragon War, in which dragons are just massacring each other.
Yeah.
Back and forth.
This is also very on par with Nicol Bolas's MO, right? He's always kind of been the scheming leader who's employed other people.
Yeah, the shithousery is always peak, right?
Yeah. And so during this time, Ugin has started to tutor under Arcades Sabbath, right? The wise one. Arcades Sabbath is like basically the only kind of like quote unquote good dragon. He decided to go and find civilization. They really liked him so much that they built a city around him, and he just kind of teaches, right? Ugin learns from Arcades, and they kind of keep themselves separate from like this war that's going on. And the war rages. Many dragons die until there really are only like 7 left. So the 5 that are in this set Arcades, Chromium, Nicole, Vivictus, and Palladia. And then also Ugin, because he gets added to the lore afterwards. And then also Piru, who was a dragon that showed up in the comic books and then wasn't lore accurate, like canon, but then was canon, and they finally gave her a card in Modern Horizons 2.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really weird. Like, she was just kind of like scratched off the edges.
I don't even recognize the name, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, Piru the Volatile is what she's called in that set. And her card very much is trying to emulate this original design.
With the pay 3 upkeep kind of deal, right?
Yeah, it's got an upkeep cost. She's a 7/7. She costs 8. All that kind of... They cost 8, right? Yeah, 8.
Yeah.
Damn, I do know this, and like this is such an like the Piru is such a
Correct.
uninspired
Unassuming.
piece of card.
It was because it was inspired by old design. And so they kind of had to kind of throw it in there.
But they didn't put it old school enough to make it look like old school stuff. They just made it look like a generic dragon.
If they'd done this thing and they'd done the original arts where they're kind of sitting, I would have understood
immediately.
This. But as someone who's in this and is into the lore, like this set went past, and
I
I never
remember
understood
seeing
the relevance
Piru
of this at all.
when it first got spoiled and thinking to myself, is this a reference? And I was like, this is just a reference. I didn't realize it was a character that was just not appeared yet.
Yeah. It's a reference to a dragon that did survive.
Yeah.
So all of the sort of elder dragons that survived into this set, as it were, had different ways of surviving. Arcades was kind of being a good guy. Chromium, his thing was that he could turn into a human. He disguised himself and lived for a hell of a long time
So
as
not
a guy.
all of the dragons could do that.
Well, maybe they could, but he seems to be the one that actually was like down for that.
Yeah, this is my thing.
Right, like Nicol Bolas has disguised himself as a human on occasions in the stories. Most notably, he turned himself into a human so that he could fuck Ralzeric's boyfriend. That's not a joke.
Cool, chill.
Like,
chill,
what a power
chill.
move, huh?
Yeah. Canonically in Magic, Ralzeric's Planeswalker Spark ignited when he walked in on Bolas, like full-on rogering his boyfriend and made direct
it's a very
eye
like
contact.
Greek Zeus thing to do. You know, Zeus just turning himself into a king so he can go out and
Remember when we did the
wed
game
someone's
of
wife.
like the most important dragons in pop culture,
Yeah.
and the dragon these nuts was the
that was the winner.
Was the winner
One of the winners, yeah.
He was taking it to a sick advantage.
Yeah, I love Ral's reaction to that scene as well. It's such a fantastic little short story because he then they're in an apartment in Ravnica and then he runs down into the street and has like a full-on no, and it starts raining and there's lightning and then like his spark ignites and he finds himself somewhere else. And just I guess up there the entire time, Nicol Bolas now just has to like. Well, he's like, okay, well, I've already finished. Like that was the point of having sex with this guy. He's a dragon. I don't know what the fuck he's into when it comes to like fucking guys. He's probably just like, ew, this is weird. It's a whole performative thing. So Chromium turns into a human to survive and turns into a human specifically so that he can like, oh God, this is where shit gets really weird. Starts to weave a myth that he can keep his sister Palladia Moore's asleep forever because she's like crazy hungry. So he turns himself into Ham the Tickery Man.
Okay.
Surely,
Okay.
Surely you're making shit up.
All right. I'm okay now. Okay, now the story's getting interesting. Now I'm sitting up in the chair. Now we're in serious story mode territory.
I'm Ham the Tickery Man. I
Yep.
come to you and you eat my ham.
This is Danny tier RPG levels right now.
this is sound like some shit I made up.
It's God damn.
So is the purpose that he wants to be eaten or not get eaten?
No. So like he turns himself into a human, and Palladia Moore's goes to sleep, and he has this thing where he has to like keep casting a sleep spell on her to like keep her asleep.
Right.
But he can't just be like this immortal dragon that's like sticking around the village casting a magic spell because he's trying to make people be like, no, you don't need dragons. Don't care about dragons. So he takes on the guise of this just like weird old man called Ham the Tickery Man.
I guess if you want to seem unassuming, just pretend to be a crazy old man, and no one ever assumes you know anything.
Look.
Also, this could just be the part in the old school storytelling when the acid kicked in. And the writers was getting real high.
Where the narcotics were more
It's like
readily
serious
available.
serious story, and then like the K-hole. And then it's
This
like...
is the good part of Stephen King's story.
Correct.
I do want to, man. I do want to get a.
Is there a
No,
ham?
I'm actually following. I'm actually
Yeah,
following.
he's never got a card.
Ah, come on!
never got a
Give me a.
Never say
even in
never.
an unhinged set or
But-
something.
Modern Horizons 4, we have ham.
Yeah, but I will say this: the reprint that they did of Chromium in Magic Set Core 2019, you can discard a card to make him into a 1/1 human with hexproof and unblockable until end of turn. So you can just imagine that he turns into Ham the Tickery.
We need to go
Man.
get Izzy to
Yeah.
draw us some tokens of
We need
Ham the
a-
Tickery Man.
We need a commissioned artist to interpret this. All right. So
Yes.
this
so,
I like that this was the like we're in an Elder Dragon war.
yes.
And Chrome decided that this was the best way to lay war.
Well, yeah.
Was to like what? Just keep the opponent asleep at all times.
Yes, like that's kind of Chromium's approach to this whole thing is that he looks from a much longer perspective. To be like, okay, like I can't kill my sister. I actually saw like a shit ton of my siblings die or either kill each other, so I'm going to put her to sleep underneath a mountain, and then I'm just going to continue being a weird guy, and then it's like the
Forever perpetually.
yeah,
casting the
Ham
spell.
like goes off into the wilderness and comes back 20 years later as like Ham's son, Ham 2, the Tickery Man.
I'm Ham Junior. You're hanging out, Kang.
Yeah.
You're at Northern Boards. You're just selling Pokemon cards like a regular Saturday.
Right.
And Ham the Tickery Man comes in asking you to help keep your sister asleep. How quickly are you calling the police? Oh yes,
Yeah,
sir. So
yeah.
I have my.
This is the equivalent of you know when like let's say you're the Woolworths like shopping center a cashier guy has someone come through and he's buying a pack of condoms, a banana, some lube,
Some
and baby
rope.
oil,
Yeah.
and rope.
Yeah.
It's like does the cashier call the police?
Yeah.
Or is he just like stare at you funny like why are you buying these? Bro?
You're like, yes, sir. We have our sister keeping a sleep potion in the back over there. If you can just wait 15 to 25 minutes, I'll have it ready for
and if you want to go there, I need your driver's license real quick. So.
It's like buying Sudafed.
So yeah, like this was a chapter that I like came across like reading in the MTGpedia, and I'll read you like this is how that section starts. Is the next time he was seen, he posed in human form as Ham the Tickery Man, a member of the High Council of Moors Ridge, who is in charge of casting the Tickery spell, making sure that his sister Palladium Moors was continuously.
Oh my god, is Tickery referring to like time on a clock?
Yeah, it's like a sleeping spell.
That's the first point that I even put the two together.
Now it's making sense, right? Now the law is making sense.
Oh yeah,
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Palladia's Moor, was she inherently evil? Was she
No.
inherently just like a
She's just
dragon that wants to eat
really
everything?
hungry.
Okay.
And like didn't really have a concept of like morality.
I guess, yeah, for these bigger than life beings, there's no such thing as good or bad. It's like the rule of nature and rule of things where I'm
Yeah.
just bigger, I'm going to eat things.
But then there's Nicol Bolas, right? And so the end of the Elder Dragon War, because
Nicol Bolas was always a little bit of a bad guy.
Yeah, he needed
Yes.
he needed a Tickery Man
Yeah,
keeping that
yeah,
motherfucker
yeah.
sleep.
yeah. So like, so Bolas starts like accumulating a kingdom, like he starts building an empire, and eventually him and his brother fight over it. Ugin kind of has to be like, okay, I guess I should be the one to take down my dickhole brother, and in doing so, Ugin appears to die. But he doesn't actually. His planeswalker spark ignites. And
The first in many times of
really mad.
Ugin being defeated and actually not defeated.
Yeah,
He kind of, he Obi-Wan Kenobi's himself.
Yeah, he's the Terminator of characters.
both he and Bolas die in the stuff that I'm talking about
Cool,
today.
cool.
Bolas also dies. Like Bolas has canonically died at least 3 times. Ugin also at least 2, maybe 3
Yes,
times.
amount of times.
Yes.
That's gonna be. I thought it was a lot at this point, but
Well, it's like I mean, he died and then time travel, and then he didn't die, but then it's one of these things.
Yeah,
right?
that's flash forward like another 10, 15 years to the original Tarkir block now at that point. So
Yeah. So, well, actually, this stuff is taking place at the start of Tarkir block, kind of.
because that's when Olmate does the time travel shenanigans, right? Sarkin.
Yeah, kind of. This is taking place before that part, but it touches.
Yeah,
up
we're
to it,
getting ahead of things. We're getting
Yeah, man,
the
the-
scope of it.
I need to do this less caffeinated because there are so many different like tangent points that I'm going all over the place.
Of course.
So the Elder Dragon War comes to a head. Vivictus Asmadi also is in the mix. Gets like most of his brood massacred and actually goes off to start the line of Shivan dragons. Vivictus Asmadi is the progenitor of all Shivan dragons, which is kind of fun. So the Jundest Jund dragon that ever Junded made Shivan dragons, right?
Trax, he has red mana in his color ID, and he makes Shivan dragons, which are red.
Yeah, exactly. And so as this sort of dust settles on this huge conflict, Nicol Bolas is now pissed off that his brother died. Quote unquote, his Planeswalker Spark actually ignited. And he has then also taken over this little pocket dimension that Ugin discovered called the Meditation Realm, right? Meditation Realm pops up in a couple of other different Magic stories. It's just a pocket dimension, largely. There's a special gem in there called the Gem of Becoming. Ugin had that gem. Bolas has the gem now. It kind of lets you control the Meditation Realm. The Meditation Realm is like a holodeck for a Star Trek analogy. And now Nicol is largely the only remaining factor of the war. Arcades is doing his own thing. Vivictus has fucked off. Palladia is asleep. Chromium and Chromium's girlfriend, Piru. Again, that's her thing in the story, is that Piru and Chromium are in love, but we just don't talk about Piru. She just gets left off, unfortunately.
Classic 90s female writing.
Yeah. They're doing their thing, right? They show up in comic books later. And then that's where Legends Cycle 2, the story starts, where we have Assassin's Blade, Emperor's Fist, and Champion's Trial. And this, weirdly enough, is not only the sort of origin of Nicol Bolas as a story character, but also the origin of what will eventually become Kamigawa Block. Those two intersect like very, very closely, because and this is all taking place on Dominaria, right? This cycle follows a main character, Tetsuo Umezawa.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
so
okay.
Umezawa is a pretty
But does it
identifiable
appear as a
name.
card on?
Yes.
Yeah.
Legends?
Yes,
Yeah.
in Legends, there is a card called Tetsuo Umezawa. He is a Grixis legend. He cares about destroying enchanted creatures.
Yeah, not super relevant to who he is as a character, but he does appear here.
Yeah. He has beef with a guy called Ramses Overdark. Super 90s name. I love it. Ramses Overdark is an assassin, and Tetsuo is the Emperor's champion. It's kind of an odd system of government that they have where no one really knows who the Emperor is or where the Emperor hangs out, but there are various regents that rule in his stead.
Ooh, kind of like living in West Australia.
Yeah.
Who's in charge of us? What's going on right now?
I don't know. Tetsuo is a cool guy with a sword, and Ramses is the royal assassin, which we apparently have to listen to. Yeah, no, that's kind of how this empire works. And so, strangely enough, this story follows a lot of characters and places and concepts that are heavily Japanese inspired, right? We have the dragon Wasatora, who was my favorite character from this cycle and didn't get a card until a commander deck like fucking 20 years later. Right? You have Umezawa, you have Ayasha Tanaka, Tor Waoki, Kei Takahashi. All of these characters are very much out of like Japanese fiction, but they take place on Dominaria because, and I'm not going to get into this, but I am going to get into this just as much as I can. Kamigawa Block happens like 2002, 2003, right? Has a character that travels from the far end of that to Dominaria. And then we get this kind of like plot twist reveal that, oh, by the way, Kamigawa was happening before Legends. And that's where the origin of the Umezawa name came from. Is Toshiro Umezawa got brought to Dominaria, apparently immediately got to fucking, and started a noble house of the clan Umezawa.
It feels like them when they made Kamigawa was like, hey, we want to tie this back into the greater scheme of the Magic storyline. Let's tie it back into Legends of all places, back into Dominio.
Yeah, they're like, hey, there's this random like Ronin-looking guy.
And it really much sets them to be like, hey, Kamigawa is an old, like timeline-wise, Kamigawa's an old set. It's like the myths of ancient Japan,
Give
right?
you the agency.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a I'd say this is a very well written series of books. I quite like them a lot. So I'll skim over them because I would encourage people to read them.
Worth reading.
Yeah, these books are worth reading because they also have a lot of implications on later things in Magic.
Gotcha.
Right? They have.
You'll have
cool
to
characters.
send me the names of these books so I can put them up on the screen.
Yes, yeah, they are Assassin's Blade, Emperor's Fist, and Champion's Trial, written by Scott McGuff.
Perfect.
Oh my god, they got the three of them got the same writer.
Yeah,
I love that. I'm so used to Warhammer, where it's all one story, but you have like many writers, and they can be wildly different storytellers.
That was me doing the research for last episode's Brothers War as well. The Antiquities story, like that Brothers War Antiquities cycle, is written by different authors.
yeah.
Which it's not always bad, but it can be very jarring when maybe the books even get released years later from each other or whatever it is. Yeah. It's like you can read Warhammer books where one story launches off from 1 second and then in the next second is in the book, but it's a writer that did it 2 years later and writes very differently. And you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yep. Yeah, thankfully these books that I'm talking about, of course, they came out 10 years after the original stuff was written, right? So they just got like one person and they're like, all right, you just get 3 books to flesh it all out, go.
Perfect.
And so Scott McGuff did this one. The original cycle of the other ones as well were written by Clayton Emery. I made sure to write that down because I didn't reference any specific writers for the Lost stuff, and I feel like it's kind of important. So there's this big reveal in these books, which it is a spoiler, but it's not a spoiler because 30 years of Magic has happened.
Yeah,
since
1994 Legends. Got to stay. Can't be spoiling stories from back then.
So Tetsuo is like trying to find out the identity of the Emperor. They feel like the Emperor is doing a bad job. They're like realizing, wait a minute, maybe this empire that I'm serving is like not a super good thing. There seems to be someone mysterious and dark in charge. Because they've set the royal assassin to assassinate me, the imperial champion. That's crazy. Because it turns out the emperor behind all of this is Nicol Bolas. Right?
The mastermind behind everything.
Yes. And Nicol Bolas has, at this point in the story, he has had his Planeswalker Spark ignite. Because Ugin showed up again. And Bolas went, well, what the fuck? I thought you were dead. And it's like, well, actually, no, I became crazy powerful. And Nicol Bolas got so mad, so jealous in that moment that it was like, what do you mean you got more powerful? I warned you. And then he sparked as well. And it was fun.
You always know that one guy who's like his brother or his mate gets like a new promotion at work or something, and he's hell mad about it. And you're like, you should be happy. Should be happy for your brother, not mad. Man.
It's cool to hear that. In my mind, the 2 most pivotal, I guess, villains, so to speak, of this Magic storyline has always been the Phyrexians, which we had from the Brothers War from the very beginning, and the Nicol Bolas, which once again is from the very beginning storyline. These are the 2 like villains and the driving antagonists of the Magic storyline, and have always been.
Yeah. And so Nicol Bolas, already at this point in Magic's history, where Dominaria has been around for a couple hundred years, right? He's an old-ass dragon. He's already revising history by giving himself a second name. All of those other Elder Dragons had 2 names, Chromium, Ruel, Vivictus Asmadi, right? But he was just Nicol. The sort of joke being that because they were twins, they shared their name.
Oh, they got
right? It's like one got Nicol and one got Ugin. So he started calling himself Nicol Bolas. To be like, yeah, I'm a real Elder Dragon. No one else remembers all the other Elder Dragons. I'm like...
Does Bolas have a reference that we need to know about?
In Portuguese, it means testicles.
Yep.
He's metal balls.
Yep.
I'm on board.
He's got them testicles made out of nickel. No, it's just it's a name that he picks up, right? When he's Emperor of Madara. And he also decided to establish this empire here because a really fucking long time ago, when his Planeswalker Spark ignited, he fought a demonic kraken in this particular part of Dominaria and defeated it, killed it, and then ate its body over the course of a year, leaving only like 2 spires of its ribcage remaining, which he then carved with his teeth to make them into his horns.
Yes. That's the crown you see on Nicol Bolas's art, right?
I didn't.
Kind of,
I
yeah.
never knew that.
It's actually depicted on a plane chase card. It's called the Talon Gates of Madara.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yep. That is a demon leviathan's ribcage.
Yeah.
That he ate. And
There's also a really shitty mana rock from some set that I can't remember, which has the same imagery on it.
Yes. Yep. I can see it in my head now. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things that Bolas puts his horns on. They're kind of like his signature, and this is the very first one, right? So then he ties his magical essence to this continent of Madara, specifically channeling them through the Talon Gates, because it's another planeswalker. I don't know. It's a magical site of relevance.
And this is we're talking pre-Manning Walker still.
Oh my god, yes. Yeah. Like Nicol Bolas is he's a god, right? And he's a god that gets killed. It's funny. Because very few planeswalkers at this time get like killed by just like regular mortals. And Bolas does. It's fucking wonderful. Because he gets cocky, as you do. And he lets Tetsuo into his meditation realm. Because I guess the Imperial Champion can do that. Whilst various things are happening on the actual like plane of Dominaria, the battle is happening in the meditation realm, and at the point where Bolas is like, well, fucking, you can't kill me here. I can just like planeswalk away. And it's like, well, no, actually, you've tied so much of your magical essence to the plane that I've got people blowing up the castle right now. And the castle just fucking explodes, and it cracks all the magical ley lines. And Nicol Bolas goes, "Oh shit, I don't have anywhere to like reconstitute my physical body to," and gets killed in the meditation realm, which kind of disperses him across the multiverse. It's hard to define exactly what happens, but he won't show up again until Time Spiral Block. And it's those Talon Gates that he eventually then comes back from, where he talks to Venser, actually.
So this is a
Tetsuo blowing up the castle, but not the gates. Silly boy.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I want to say
plot
they're made
opening for the villain to come back. Look at that.
Yeah.
So this is a very much a self-contained story, just being, hey, we have a villain, we have a hero comes through and defeats the villain at the end.
Yes, exactly. It's the rise of someone who works for an evil empire, getting having a rivalry with someone else in that evil empire. They then kill Ramses Overdark. They go on a whole adventure. They get a team of people together, and then eventually they find out, oh wow, the emperor I was serving this entire time was an evil dragon, and then they kill the evil dragon.
This is a great D&D campaign.
Yes, absolutely incredible, fantastic. Right? It's like neo-gothic, kind of like medieval, but then there's like heavy Japanese inspirations.
This was the DM was like, I just like these themes, I'm gonna chuck them in.
Yeah, let's throw them in, baby.
Exactly. Yeah. Like there's I didn't even touch on like Wasatora is in this story a lot, and she has entire litters of cat dragons that like Tetsuo makes good friends with and that kind of stuff. And it's all very D&D campaign.
Yeah, all the players came through with their custom created characters, and one guy was like, hey, I want to be a samurai, and his name is
He's the guy that rocks up in the samurai clothes to D&D and that thing. Bet. And like, you're in the medieval, like kind of like, I don't know.
I'm hardened for the role player.
And he's like, and the DM's like, I got to hand this in somehow.
And so many of the characters as well that show up in Legend Cycle 1 do also kind of show up as NPCs in this one as well.
Nice.
Right? Like Ramirez de Pietro, like as a pirate. The assassin insect lady, Zero Orien, shows up as well. Where she fucking brutally infects one of the main characters with her like insect poison, and he's starting to metamorphosize into an insect, very much like the Fly. It's kind of gross, but it's wonderful.
I like a little bit to think of it as like in Skyrim, where you go into the first town and there's the guy who has the arrow to the knee meme. It's like, you know, from the first series of books, there's like he's a crazy assassin, and the next series of books, he's just a security guard.
Yeah, he's
like,
retired. He's done. Yeah.
Yeah, and it does very much feel like there was this previous D&D campaign where there was an evil wizard and you know that, and like an old man, and then they've done another D&D campaign and they're like, oh, I actually kind of really like some of the NPCs.
Yeah,
So
bring them all
Legends
back.
very much is a set where we have a bunch of collections of stories put together that then kind of lay some groundwork for later on when we have more greater storytelling in the Magic universe, right? It doesn't necessarily touch upon much of the Brothers' War previously, but it's still chronologically relevant because it lays the groundwork for, hey, this Nicol Bolas character is going to be a villain, and this Umezawa fella is going to be relevant in Kamigawa.
Yeah, it leaves a lot of pieces on the table that later Magic writers would then pick up and do things with.
Correct. And I bet back then they weren't necessarily thinking too much about this. But hey, the butterfly effect we mentioned in Legends, where these small decisions being relevant down the line 10 years into Magic storyline.
It also shows like great story building when somebody 10 years later can come back and be like, man, I could build on this. Like,
I
Absolutely.
sincerely believe, you know, for all my years of reading books, comics, and you know, playing D&D and such, world building is more important than the functional storytelling you create. Right? If you're able to create a compelling world, then people can be able to write their own stories around it rather than just the slice of story you create.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
Absolutely. And this set also leaves a lot of things hanging and open that get picked up on later, turned into some really cool stuff. For example, Care Keep and the kobolds of Care Keep show up in this set for the very first time, which then gets picked up way later because they worship a dragon god called Prosh. Does anyone know Prosh and the kobolds of Care Keep and how that has then impacted into Commander?
10 years ago, Prosh was like
They love this. They love the thing called
baddie
food chain.
commander.
Yeah, exactly. And that all starts from just like there's this goofy black and red legend from here that makes Kobolds of Care Keep, and then they print the card Kobolds of Care Keep.
Correct.
They're like, oh, wouldn't that be fun if we made a dragon later on?
I think one thing we can never fault is Magic design team, the Wizards of the Coast design team, always seems to have great pools of knowledge where they grab from and able to create cards. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's fun to live in a world where Magic is now run by people who are fans of Magic, right? Who like grew up with Magic and then became designers and, you know, got to do stuff like where we have Modern Horizon sets and you have Asmaranda Mighty and Kuldakar.
Yeah,
showing
funny you're
up
going
on
to
a
mention
set.
exactly that.
There you go, right? Like,
Where was-
like Ethan Fleischer, who was like a big fan of Magic and sees it written in the flavor text of Alpha and is like, I bet we could probably fit that onto a card one day.
Yeah.
For the average person playing the game, this would go right over their head. It's like, oh, this is just another card. But for people who pay attention, is hey, this was a flavor text mentioned character getting a card now.
Yeah, and it was a real hot hit. Like when that Modern Horizons 2 comes out with that card on it, like so many, it created such a stir in communication and stuff like that as well. So clearly, like it was a golden nugget they really hold on to, right?
Oh yeah. And I absolutely want to toot my horn there for just like one take.
Casually splaying it in.
Just like Asmaranda Mighty and Kuldakar,
I've always just shortened to like Asmon. We just
Asmo is fine,
Asmo.
perfectly fine.
No,
Yeah.
that took 12 takes. We just had to edit it in the last one. So.
Nerd, don't call me out like this.
in the recording it's like Asma, it's all chopped up.
Hang on, let me try that again. Hang on, let me try that again.
And then, all right, and then. Is there much more of story past Nicol Bolas being defeated?
So I said that there was four main ones. I'll touch on the fourth one because it's also a fan favorite, right? We had the Elder Dragon War, Legend Cycle 1, Legend Cycle 2, which kind of leads on from the Elder Dragon War, and then there's the whole Dakin Blackblade stuff. Dakin Blackblade is a legend in this set, and he has a long storyline that then also involves the character of Gaedrone Dahada. It involves the Carthelian line,
which are all these things got cards.
I didn't realize how much Modern Horizons 2 touched back on all these.
Yeah,
like
yeah. Big time.
Yeah, like Piru was in that set. We're talking about Dakin Blackblade, and the Blackblade Reforged comes in there as well.
Yep.
And the Asmo. Like I didn't realize how much of this was actually I just didn't. I kind of just went over
The
my head
Modern
at the time.
Horizon, because whenever time you make a set that's not directly a core set of some sort of storyline, these master sets are their chance to be like, hey, let's quickly squeeze in cards we can't design.
Yeah, I guess I
sets.
just didn't. Sometimes I think with the modern sets and those sets, they focus more on just like putting in cards for things like modern and standard, and I didn't realize that there was all this cool story reference that I just completely went over my head at the time.
Yeah, well, because they definitely do that. They just often find these also chances to be like, oh, by the way, can we make this random card design that we've made? Can we make it a reference to an old thing? Or they've got some designer who's been sitting in the back being like, I wanted to get fucking Boris Devilboon onto a card for 32 years, and he still hasn't got it yet. But maybe on Horizons 4, right?
It's a good way to hammer it in.
You never know. And also the legends from this Legends set as well. In Dominaria United, a set that came out relatively recently, I want to say. I have no reference for time frame of things that happened in the last 5 years.
Last 2 or 3 anyway.
Yeah. Dominaria United had a small sheet on it that was like the retold legends. And they took, I believe, 20, maybe 25 characters from this set and gave them new card designs, right? So Hazezon Tamar got one, Ayesha Tanaka, Tetsuo Umezawa, not Johan. Johan didn't get one, but Stang did.
Stang did.
Stang
and
got a card.
still not a relevant card. Still not a great card. Both versions of Stang.
Stang doesn't really feature in any of these stories. Johan, big villain of the entire first cycle of Legends things, doesn't get a reference.
Really?
So, yeah, it's great. But yeah, so there's some fun, more modern, not modern the format, but modern the time frame playable versions of these characters, right? If you like Zera Arian, yeah, you could play her Legends card where it's like red, black, tap,
make it die,
draw a card.
Oh, draw a card.
It's draw a card. Yes. Yeah. Or you can play the new one that like puts egg tokens on creatures, and then when they die, you get to draw a card and make little
which
bug
is
boys.
on flavor for what she does in the story.
Yeah, they much better like capture their things. So the Dakin Blackblade stuff. It's a long run comic book series. This one doesn't have a revisionist book, but it's really cool stuff. Dakin is oh man, he's a powerful like planeswalker guy who gets conscripted by this other demonic planeswalker, Gaedrone Dahada. She had a commander deck.
She's that Maru one from
Canada. The scary wizard
with
Grixis
the
wizards, right?
tentacle bits. Yeah. She makes him make a sword.
And Jared Cathalion was the 5-color.
Yeah.
Commander.
Yeah, exactly. She makes him make a sword. The sword is called a Blackblade. It's like crazy powerful, but it makes him very strong, and it binds him to her. There's a lot of stuff that he gets kind of like forced to do. In fact, stuff that actually involves Chromium and Piru. They work for Gaedrone for a little period of time as like thralls. And then eventually this sort of random peasant guy called Karth, who's so poor that he doesn't even have a last name, gets brought up by Gaedrone to then slay Dakon and take the Blackblade, and he gains the title Karth the Lion, which then eventually starts a long family history of the Karthalians, right? Like Karth the Lion, condense it becomes a last name. He made a last name for his house. And that all of that stuff that I just mentioned was stuff that was not canon, or like maybe canon for years and years and years, over like 2 decades. And then it's only sort of been fairly recently that they've brought that stuff back into canon, with when like the Blackblade became a thing that was referenced in the War of the Spark story, and Jared Carthalion popped up in the background of other stories and commander decks and Gaedrone and all this kind of stuff. It's good, fun stuff. Really cool art in those comics. Really, really cool art. I love that stuff. I love that shit.
I've seen snippets of
stuff.
the art.
Yeah. It's very, very good. That's the other main hanging plot line from this set. So if anything from Legends catches your eye, it probably ties into one of those 4. The Elder Dragon War, the Johan Hazezon Jadit stuff, the Nicol Bolas has an Empire, Tetsuo Umezawa stuff, or the Dakon Blackblade Black Blade.
And it's
stuff.
funny to see there are like definitely fragments of each of these storylines still being relevant. I mean, the Nicol Bolas one is probably the most relevant of the 4, but the other 3 still have relevance.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in cards that have popped up in more recent times or have had strings of storylines still being told.
Yeah, except for late in Cycle 1, because we just did, none of those characters ever went on to do anything.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yet.
Well, okay.
They just announced
This is the long game. This is the 30-year in the making.
Yeah,
super long planned storyline.
I think they did say that with all the Universes Beyond stuff, they're shuttling the modern sets now, right? The Modern Horizons.
are they
sets.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've stopped doing. They're gonna stop doing modern sets because they're gonna find ways. Instead of doing modern sets, they'll just do instead of doing master sets.
Yeah.
They want to do reprints via other ways. So, because what Maro said was that them shuttling master sets was one of their ways of reducing the amount of products they make per year. Because one of the major complaints for the last probably 4 or 5 years has been, hey, Wizard of the Coast, you're making too much stuff.
So much product fatigue. Spoiler season never stops.
Yeah. Do you feel like we've hit the stories enough, or is there a lot more to get on with this set?
There's like I could go into individual characters and kind of tell you what their deal is, but a lot of them only have like maybe 1 or 2 sentences, right? Like, what's Halfdane's deal? Well, Halfdane is a guy that can become other guys. He's a shapeshifter and kind of a dick about it. What is Drago's deal? Well, it's nothing to do with the Dragon for some reason. He's just like a big beefy guy. Yeah. Right? Goss the Dirk, totally the same thing. Ramirez DiPietro, pirate, sexy, pansexual, and gender nonconforming, right? They're archetypes a lot of the time, right? Maybe not like restricted archetypes. These are player characters that you can kind of fit into. And I think maybe, next time you're in a D&D campaign and you're looking for a unique inspiration for your character,
if you haven't done your homework and you need a character 5 minutes before the D&D starts, you can whip up one of these characters, drag him straight in.
Yeah, RNG one out from Legends.
And I guess if you pick one of the Cycle 1 books, most people aren't going to know who that character is, so you can probably get away with just
about it.
Flagrant
Play Dungeons and
right?
Dragons. So here's the strategy as a more experienced DM, right? Here's the strategy. I've done this before a lot as well, which is just play D&D with people who don't play Magic the Gathering and constantly reference Magic the Gathering characters.
My God, yes.
And no one ever finds out.
No one knows. Yeah.
Exactly. I used to do that all the time.
I like the idea of one of your mates like playing Magic 10 years later and you're just seeing his like the big baddie he just beat and he's like,
wait a fucking minute.
There's a Nicol
My
Bolas in
Dungeons
this
Dragon
game.
was not original at all. All right. So do we have, say, a favorite card? Do we have any cards we want to mention? Starting with you, Danny.
Yeah, I screenshotted a couple, right? Now, I think most importantly to me, the most thing that made me most mad, in Magic, there's a common reference to what is called a bear. And a bear is a 2/2 for 2, right? But in Legends, there is a 1 mana, 1 green, so 2, summon apes called Barbary Apes.
Yeah.
And I would much rather have called instead of having a bear, a Barbary Ape to reference a 2 mana, 2/2 creature moving forward. I think that's a lost opportunity.
I also really like that as like a parallel point, right? Because typically, your average human soldier is a 1/1. So then if you said an ape is twice as strong as a man, I'd be like, all right, yeah, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah. It takes 2 guys to take down an ape, 2 guys to take down a bear,
and
also,
100 men to take down a gorilla, a silverback gorilla.
I can do it.
There's a card, and I've now forgotten the English version of it, but it's like 2 cat warriors, right? And the French
warriors.
and the Italian versions have very funny translations.
Yeah.
And I own both of them. And in the annoying that I've forgotten the name of the English one.
It's cat warriors.
Cat warriors.
It's literally just cat warriors.
In Spanish, it's Gate Garechi or something, and it has Passe Foreste. So because like they're passing the forest because they have forest walk.
They have forest walk.
And the Italian version of it is also very funny. Like it's just words that sound very much like English. Like when
any of those Latin-based languages when you just have this is kind of Englishy.
Yeah, it's kind of. It's when you have your mates like, I can speak Spanish, and he's like, ole, and you're like, okay,
sure, buddy.
And it like even because instead of summon, it says evoco, like which is like evoking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just all of every word that's in another language. It looks like someone who doesn't know how to speak that language has written it.
For me, Legends is a set where the more I scroll through it, the more I realize how many pieces of just iconic artwork that has really
so
still stayed relevant to this day, and every little piece evokes a feeling of old fantasy for me. And just to pin down like any specific card, which is my favorite, would honestly be almost impossible. I want to give a quick shout out to Hazezon Tamar, who was a character in Cycle 2 of the storyline.
He's pretty cool.
Hazezon Tamar, drawn by Richard Kane Ferguson, which is a Magic artist who's still relevant to this day, still making art. Hazezon Tamar as a commander as well is mostly playable. You know, he does do things. I have built a commander deck for Hazezon Tamar themed around the Sand Warriors. For the longest time ever, there wasn't a Sand Warrior token until I think it was Domino United, where we got Sand Warrior tokens finally.
Where they also made another version of Hazezon Tamar.
Exactly. Desert themed, right? Once again.
Yeah, that was at the start of the podcast time when we were doing the whole June thing.
Exactly.
Right?
The June cycle.
We were playing that then,
Hazezon Tamar is just has always been such a cool character to me, just almost strictly off the back of the Richard Kane Ferguson art and me being a fan of that Arabian aesthetic. I got to give a big shout out to him as well. So, and also one of the more collectible cards from the set, I argue.
The Planar Gate card from Legends is like, I think his like Citadel, I'm fairly certain, but that piece of art's amazing.
Yeah.
It's a 6-mana artifact in there.
And then
all of the land cards in this cycle look like really D&D 90s inspiring. Like Hammerheim is a crazy cool piece of art. Cathedral of Sarah, like, you know, Sarah becomes such an
Urborg.
The Urborg?
I play with the
Urborg.
original Legends Urborg every single chance I get because it's so fucking cool.
I would love to have like almost an art book, you know, a picture book of just the high resolutions of each of these arts.
And if they even exist, do you know what I mean?
Exactly. Who knows where they exist anymore.
I've talked about before, there's a few older cards from sets. Feeding Frenzy is one of them. It's a few sets, like quite a few sets after this, but there's no high-res version of it.
Exactly.
And Metalworker, which is my
The
favorite.
best you
Magic
got is someone scanned the card, but that's still not the original.
Yeah, even on
Yeah,
Google,
yeah.
I can't find a single res image that's higher than the size of an actual Magic card art. Like,
Right.
just not.
Yeah.
There's nothing bigger that exists.
A wish list would be. I think about it all the time. I would love to have some museum of old Magic art, just like a collection of just like this is.
Yeah, because it has to exist
preserved.
somewhere, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, some of the rights have changed. Also, you know, like some of the artists have fallen out of favor.
Yes, yeah.
Quentin Hoover
yeah,
being the big
yeah, yeah.
one.
Definitely has a few pieces of art here in Legends.
Invoke Prejudice is in this set.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did notice it rolling through. Yeah.
But the you know the clan.
yeah.
It's just straight up the clan.
Yeah.
Real quickly as well, before we get into your favorite cards, Matt, I want to give a shout out as well. Killer Bees.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Killer
Yeah.
Bees is a little, it's just a card that kind of goes under the radar in all the grandiorness of the Legends and the crazy stuff happens in Legends. I've been a fan of playing Chandelier, which is the digital video game of Magic the Gathering that came out in 2000.
Such a wonderful little time capsule.
Little time capsule of old Magic. So Chandelier is a video game that you can't really buy anymore, but you can definitely find files on the internet for. It's a digital video game of Magic the Gathering where you play as a wizard running around an open world, collecting Magic the Gathering cards, dueling people, so that you can defeat the wizards and then eventually become the best and save the world, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
And because you're playing this time capsule of old Magic the Gathering and old rules, it completely skews your mind of what is considered a strong card.
I mean, there's no card limits,
Exactly.
right? You can have any number of cards,
And you
in
can
your
play
deck.
with the crazy ban cards. You can play with anti cards. You can play
Yep.
with Contract from Below, and you can play with Power 9. So you in your deck having an Ancestral Recall or Black Lotus is common.
I
That's
think
gangsta.
as a result of playing the game, you can fit up to 16 Black Lotuses
Absolutely.
in your deck.
Yeah. You can go wild, and it is
Yeah, I
love it.
it is a absolutely. If you're okay with playing some of the old janky controls and UI, I highly recommend it if you love old school Magic. Otherwise, watch a couple of videos on it. Check it out.
Yeah.
But Killer Bees is a card in Chandelier that is just an absolute wrecker.
It's a really cheap flyer that can win you the game if you then go Killer Bees, Lotus, kill
And
you.
just kill someone. And it is, and it's so funny because my first experience playing Chandelier coming from Modern Magic was like, oh, I'm gonna get cards like Lightning Bolts, of course. I'm gonna get these things, of course. And I go into a battle, my opponent plays Killer Bees. It's 0/1 flying creature that you can pump matter to make it bigger. And suddenly I look at my hand and I go, oh no, I can't kill the Killer Bees. The Killer Bees is unstoppable. It defeated me. Everything about this card is insane. And then I immediately in Chandler go to the nearest town and buy 3 copies of Killer Bees for my deck.
Yeah.
Look at this giant growth, where he's pulling like an infinitely long train of like little things in the background.
That is Eddie Hall circa 2025.
Yes. Yeah. So my special shout out for favorite character in the entire set is Albert Einstein.
You what?
Albert Einstein is in this set on a white card called Presence of the Master.
Yes.
Which for some reason is also not a creature; it's an enchantment. No, it's just straight up Albert Einstein.
Yeah.
Phil Foglio was he just drew Albert Einstein on a
And
card.
it's got to not be the first reference to Albert Einstein, because in Eureka
Eureka is also in
E
this
equals
set.
MC squared.
Yeah. Eureka, of course, being it's a Greek word, right? So the Greek guy, he was in the bathtub and he jumped out. And
What
like,
the fuck? It's just
That is just
it's
Albert
just
Einstein.
a picture of him.
But no, it's just Albert Einstein.
That's so out of place.
You reckon there was a brief moment when Wizard of the Coast went, hey, are we allowed to do this? Are we allowed to use this like
When
this?
did Albert Einstein like pass away? Was he alive when?
Nah,
There's a brief memo that goes around. It's like, hey, is Einstein's likeness in the public domain? But no, actual shout out for my favorite character in this set is Birdman on the card Unbreakable or
Absolutely.
Indestructible Aura.
Also by...
Yes, that's Mark Poole.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah,
Also,
that's
so
Mark
close.
Poole. Indestructible Aura is a card that does not grant indestructible, nor is an aura,
Awesome.
and features a bird-headed man in armor throwing up the double horns across his chest, shooting fire out of one hand and ice magic out of the other.
What color is that?
White.
It's okay. This is a white card.
No,
too.
I think what it actually is that he's deflecting the fireball and the water beam. He's indestructible in the art.
I just thought he's aura
unfazed.
farming.
He is. He's definitely
he's
aura
just,
farming.
He's just like, check it out, how fucking awesome I
Plus,
am.
Mark Bull had no clue what creature he was doing. He had human arms and a bird's face and some sort of insectoid fish body, man.
It has a bird head. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not like a bird man. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's the armor looks like a bug.
And apparently has a name, because in the flavor text,
Yeah,
I guess theater.
What I want to
Go
do
for
now
it.
is go look for every other card art that Mark Paul's drawn and see if he's ever done a bird after.
You reckon?
Like,
You reckon
see-
if we give Magic enough time, we are going to get a commander referencing this character?
Oh, please.
I would love to play as Theodore.
Exactly.
If this
right?
was like a white, red, blue thing that did it in like you had
if Pyrrhu
auras-
can get a card, Theodore can get a card.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. It's the kind of shit that I want to like have spray painted on the side of a van.
Absolutely.
I want it on like singlets that are like sold down like by the jetty.
Yeah.
Like it's just such pure 90s fantasy bliss. The Beasts of Bogarden also sit in a very similar feeling for me, where they're just big ass devil horned dogs going rah against a fiery backdrop.
This was still around back then when Magic the Gathering was like, hey, you're just demon worship for our children. You're corrupting our kids.
Yeah.
There was one that actually really freaked me out as a kid. It's called Abomination, and it's a mono black card.
Oh yeah.
The face on it was like real nightmare inducing.
Yep.
Like his bottom lip is kind of missing and stuff, and it freaked me out as a child.
I mean, have you seen Mold Demon?
No.
Mold Demon is a black card. These days, that would very much be a Golgari card. But Mold Demon is just like a weird squiggly guy. There's too much going on.
Mold, as in like MOLD.
MOLD, yeah. Mold Demon.
I like the idea of that is like a LSD like K-hole like
Yes.
nightmare fuel thing.
Yeah, it's where your friend says like, has it kicked in yet? And you look up at them and that's what you see.
Yeah.
And you're like,
And
This is what happens when you let the water drip too much in the back of your bathroom, and the black mold starts
Yeah.
to infect your brain. You know what I mean?
Yes,
You're like,
yeah.
I've been seeing the demon every time I go to bed.
you accidentally snap at your partner in a way that was like way too aggro, and you're like, I'm sorry, it was just the Mold Demon. It was the Mold Demon.
And frankly, like with Legends, I do encourage, if you have the chance, have a look through just the card art from Legends.
Yes.
If you're a fan of old school fantasy art styles, just go through Legends. There are so many different pieces of art which have an artist has spent so much time and care into creating an idea, and such the variety of art as well that is on display. There's some amazing stuff here, and just even scrolling through, you're not even halfway through the set. I could name so many cool pieces of art. Chains of Mephistopheles is an amazing piece of art. You have the art for you have the weird arts like Divine Intervention. I appreciate that as well.
There's a copy that I dropped off at the store a while back of the Kobolds of Kerkee.
Yeah.
Right? Like just that funky little like boy band.
Oh, no, that's not it.
No, that's not them there. They're I threw it in as like a door prize for some Highlander event. Correct. I don't know if we ever actually gave it out. But yeah, they're just like, they look like they're on the cover of like a Kids Bop rap album.
Yeah.
They're absolutely fantastic.
The artists back then were given a lot of, free reign to just take the interpretation. So,
and when they got the art back, they went, well, we can't pay them to make new ones. So
rock and roll. So
yeah, no, Legends is a fantastic set. And I think it really does, well, okay. It's a really cool set to look at. How it rates as like a Magic set, it's kind of hard to define these days by like, does it have good cards?
Hey, can you guys, on the green side, there's a card called Willow Satire.
Yes.
Is this good?
Yes, Willow Satyr Willow Satyr is legitimately a cool card. And then if it shows up at any commander table, it's going to make everyone go, wait,
whose dad
really?
is this in the art? This is
That is 100%.
Yeah, this is you like hanging out watching like your VCRs as a kid, and your dad walks past just after a shower, completely naked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In my mind, I was like, it's when you go camping and you're pissing in in the bush next door, and then a group of kids walk past, and you're like, oh shit, oh fuck. But this Willow,
like fuck them on a list. Fuck them on a list.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But this thing, you just tap it, and it gains control of target legend, and then that's how good.
But also,
that's how good.
This is Legends. Legend just has a wide spattering of all of a sudden, like this is an amazing card and this is an unplayable card.
Like Caracas is banned from almost everything, and then I can just play Willow Satire. Fuck, let's go, baby.
This is the set that had Tabernacle of Pendrell Vale. It had Nether Void.
I'm a really big fan of the Grave Witch one, where it's 3 mana. It's a black creature, and you can tap it and bring a creature out of the graveyard.
Oh yeah, Coffin Queen.
Coffin Queen. That's it. This is. I'm gonna go find me some copies of this, because this is. I'm gonna steal from Commander.
I've had many people that I've met through the years say, "Hey, my favorite Magic set of all time is Legends," and I can see why.
There's a lot of really cool stuff to play.
If someone says their favorite set is Legends, I understand why. There's just a lot of cool things that have been influential in Magic down the line. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I used to play a deck. This is just like a random aside, with a card called Aisling Leprechaun, because I found it fun from a rules perspective. It's just it's green for a 1/1. It's a fairy, but it has this effect that whenever it blocks or becomes blocked by something, it makes that creature green indefinitely. It's just green now, right? And under certain interpretations of the rules, right, you could say that card is just green forever.
Yeah.
Because like in the errata of this card, it does say this effect lasts indefinitely. And I think I just kind of find it fun that you could just have this little guy, you chump block your opponent's commander, grab it across the table, and just take a green marker around the whole border of it. You're like, yeah, no, your guy is green now. He just is.
He's
forever. And I love that.
You know how you talked about the vertical cycles?
Yep.
In the red, there's a whole vertical of things called Wall of, and you've got Wall of Dust, Wall of Earth, Wall of Heat, Wall of Opposition.
Oh, there's a lot of walls.
And they're like, why are you just walling off everything? It's like the guy.
Wall of Heat just sounds uncomfortable. That's just the Australian summer.
You know how
multiple way of protecting yourself.
It's true.
You know how multiple people were involved in making this set? Do you think multiple different people made walls of, or one guy forgot to do his work, and at the very last day he's like, "Fuck, I'm doing all the red, and I just need to make a bunch of shit." I like the idea of it being multiple.
They had a
different people.
quota to do 310 cards, and they got down to the last 10 cards left. You're like, oh shit, walls.
There does feel like there's a couple of either overdone cycles or unfinished cycles, like the world enchantments, right?
Yeah,
there
absolutely.
There are no white world enchantments, but there's 3 red ones, right? So it feels like there's a bunch of designs that kind of got thrown out there. They're not a clean, cycle, and some of them are very powerful. what is it? Nether Void. And then some of them are Field of Dreams, which is just players play with their top card of their deck revealed.
Yeah, some bangers here. Like Sylvan Library has survived the test of time.
There's Mana Drain in this set.
Oh, is that really?
Mana Drain's in this set?
Yeah, Sylvan Library is actually a place that gets referenced in that first Legends.
It's actually one of the cards
series.
that isn't reserve list. One of the few cards that isn't reserve list.
Yeah. A Rabbit Wombat is in this set.
Yeah,
That
the
card's
Rabbit
not
Wombat's
reserve
very
list.
funny. The reference to Australia in this is very funny.
For sure. All right, well, we're wrapping up to an hour and 40 minutes now. It's one of our longer episodes.
Because we could just go through Legends set, but like card by card.
Yeah.
It would be boring as hell.
I
but
do
it'd be
encourage
fun.
listeners, check out the set. There are so many cool pieces of fun tidbits of lore and art. We could go on forever. Equinox is a beautifully drawn card, which covers like a day-night split kind of deal.
Yeah, and that card randomly spiked price-wise recently because it has synergy with Toph, the metal vendor for the Avatar set.
From the upcoming Avatar set.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, seriously, because it's a land enchantment that you can counter spells that would target and destroy lands. So because she lets you turn your lands into creatures, it was like, oh, you've got this little thing that just says like tap
Synergy.
counter target spell that would destroy a creature. That kind of stuff.
All right. Any last words? What are we looking forward to potentially next episode? Are we diving into?
Well, I guess that's my final question: is like, are we ready to move on to the next set, or do we need to touch more on here? Because we're doing this for fun, right? We don't have to rush to the next set if we don't need to.
I don't know how much more I could go into Legends. I think this is really a point where if anybody wants to go further into this, I just recommend reading these books, right? Like track down the Legend cycle, Johann, Yajit, and Hazazon, or the second Legend cycle.
I'll make sure to put up
Assassin's
pictures.
Blade, Emperor's Fist, Champion's Trial. Track those down and read them. Because there's a lot of really individual stories in this that we could just become a Legends podcast where it'd be like, today we're talking about Gosta Dirk or Sustanian Falcon.
I like that. We're already a podcast within a podcast. I like being like a third podcast within a
Chandelier
podcast within a
our own
podcast.
podcast?
Yeah.
It's a deep rabbit hole. But I don't think it's a deep rabbit hole that weirdly has a lot of actual depth.
Yeah.
So I'm keen to talk about more Magic stuff, and especially the upcoming sets that we have in the pipeline chronologically. The next one is the Dark. The Dark is a very, very interesting set.
Nice.
It has not a lot of like built-in Magic lore. It has a lot of real-world lore because it's mostly about actual fears in the real world and religious panic.
Yeah, and the Dark has a lot of like cool pieces of art.
I see they're going to have a lot of cards about taxes then.
But then we get to other stuff later on, like Homelands and Fallen Empires and Ice Age that are just like dripping in like intense lore.
I am looking forward to those because after we did our first episode and we did the Brothers War, I dived really hard into reading more about the Ice Age stuff. And boy, what an underrated like set of just like cool pieces of art. They really doubled down on, hey, it feels like an Arctic post-apocalyptic set.
Well, I know tomorrow I'm going to be going through and having a look. It's quite late now, right? So probably not tonight, but I'm going to go through and have a look at all the Modern Horizons 2 cards because I just never understood that there was so much references to all this backstory that I have so fond of, you know?
When we talked about the Antiquities block and I was doing a lot of research for art for the our last episode, I went down a full spiral of just looking at all the cards from the recent Brothers War set, right? And then I realized how much of it was significantly relevant.
These cool references,
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of it calls back, right? Like, and that's the thing is a set as old and as like I know we're going long on time, but as sort of like ground building as Legends gets referenced a lot. It has been called back to a ton of times, and there's so many different things, especially on Dominaria, that are just like randomly going to reference things that are from this set, right? Like there's a legend in this set. He's green white. He was canonically the first like male angel and the only male angel for a long time, Gabriel Angelfire. He doesn't really have a lot of lore to him, but he clearly has some impact on Dominaria because there's a shit ton of flavor texts that refer to like the hymn of Angelfire, which is clearly like some kind of religious doctrine that's like based on him that just like carries through the next 25 years.
It's just
of Magic.
world building. Yeah. It's more world building.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that the Gabriel is an interesting character. or had a lot to him, but it had a big impact.
I guess, yeah, we don't have story to read up on it, but in the world, they had story for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's a person in the history and becomes legendary.
I love it.
All right. Thank you very much for tuning in for this episode 2 of the Law Series.
Thank you very much for
Matt,
having me on
doing your
again.
research and joining us tonight as well. Any last words, gentlemen?
No, I'm good.
No,
I love it. I'm
All right,
excited.
stay tuned, guys. Thank you for listening.
Catch you around.
Cheers.